Peace Leute und was geht ab? And welcome to my next video from Creepypasta. The next creepy story is House of Rules. Lego.
I live in a house of rules. I should explain. I moved there 3 months ago, flat number 27. The flat was a repossession. I never met the previous owner, and to date only know him by the post I receive in his name. I could make up stories of him vanishing, his screams being heard in the darkness one night. I could make exaggerated claims about all of this. But this is not a work of fiction, nor is it written to entertain. I'd just gotten a new job, a promotion I'd waited years for. This was meant to be the next step to greater things, but I needed to move quickly to save on the long drive every day. When I found this place, I was overjoyed. It was well located, within my price range, and apart from being extremely run down and dirty, had so much potential. It's a duplex apartment, with a guest room and a spare bathroom on the ground floor, and a dressing room and several storage rooms on the top floor. The purchase was a complicated one, due in part to poor record keeping and the loss of deeds and plans to the house. What should have taken a month from start to finish took 4 times that long. Because of the length of time, I took several viewings and each time was amazed by windows and cupboards that I could not recall from my previous visits. Rooms seemed bigger and lighter, more inviting. Even the estate agent was baffled that her property listing documents were constantly wrong. The neighbours in the block of flats are a strange lot. They don't talk. They keep to routines you can set a clock by. When I first moved in, I tried to invite them to a housewarming. So desperate was I to meet new people. Not one of them came. They get in at the same time every day and never leave the house. I never hear them moving around at night. One of them, a nervous man from upstairs who constantly fidgets and glances around, apologised afterwards. He explained his lack of attendance was simply that he wasn't allowed to. At the time, I presumed he meant his wife, but now I'm not so certain. As he was the only one I'd gotten to know since the move, I did my best to become friendly, and even felt like I was making headway. Then I made the mistake of asking about the previous owner, to which he made an awkward and short response before making his excuses. I have not seen or heard from him since. The rules, as I came to understand them, became apparent over time. The first was sleeping only in my bedroom. I only slept once in the lounge on purpose, dozing on the sofa, until I woke up with my arm trapped between the sofa and the wall, a wall that was several feet away from the sofa when I closed my eyes a few hours earlier. I was overcome with a feeling, a very familiar feeling, that I was somewhere I shouldn't be. This feeling wouldn't leave me until I hurriedly stumbled up to my bed, where I only felt truly safe when I hid under the blankets like a scared child. I only fell asleep once more in the lounge after that, by accident. I was woken once again with a feeling that I should leave, that it would be unsafe to stay, and that I should not be there. This time, however, a sweater I'd left across the room on a radiator was tied around my neck and pulled tightly enough to leave a striking mark on my throat. The rule of sleeping only in my bedroom stands alongside others, countless others. I learned that I should clean up my dishes immediately when I stepped out of the kitchen after depositing my plate and sat down on a safety pin that was jutting out of the back of the sofa. I learned not to take too long showers when the water suddenly turned scalding hot and remained so, no matter how desperately I tried to turn it off, and then was inexplicably normal temperature when I tried it moments after. I learned that I must hoover and keep the place tidy, that I must not waste the electricity, and no matter what noises I hear at night, I should never, ever explore. Another rule is guests are not welcome. The last time I had a guest, it was a friend who invited himself, despite my concerns that I could not air down for the weekend by making arguments to come and see me, until I relented. How could I not? I spent the entire time terrified for their safety, and pretty much drove them away with my strange behaviour accordingly. But there were no events. Such things made me bold, and I began to relax. I stayed awake until late, played music at night, and did whatever I wanted. even going so far as to feeling like I had triumphed as the house remained meekly quiet. It was almost immediately after they left that I first noticed the headache and the nausea, which got worse and worse as the gas leak continued. I only just made it out before I succumbed. I have so many things I could tell you, example after example. I don't know where to begin. I need you to look past your skepticism and see that this is real, that this is more than coincidence, that this is more than just child's play haunting. I am not being haunted. I'm being ruled. The rules are only a part of it. They're the part I play. The rest is done without me, and not only that, but done around me. The walls shift, doors open some days but won't the next. The number of windows in my bedroom increased one by one over consecutive nights, and then there was only one again. There is a cupboard at the top of my stairs that changes in size quite regularly. One of the most terrifying experiences of my life was when I opened it and saw it went back several meters more than I remembered. When I walked in, somehow the door shut behind me, and I groped in the dark, silently there, yet my fingers touched only air. I do not know how long I fumbled in the dark, but it was only as my panic attack rose that my shaking fingers found the wooden door. Have you ever woken up in a room with a chair sitting at the end of your bed? A chair that came from the dining room. The dining room that is down a flight of stairs and along a hallway. Have you ever walked into a room and seen a storage cupboard that was not there before? Have you ever observed more stairs on a staircase as you go down them than there was when you went up? Have you ever entered a room looking for something and then gave up and left, and then realised an hour and a half had passed? I have lived all these things, and were I a better, more scientific man, I would have kept a running log of all of it. I would have found proof I needed to show the world I'm not crazy, that this is real, that it's a living nightmare. 5 hours have passed since I sat down to write this, and when once I'd hoped to prepare some lunch and hope there were no drawing pins in my bread, like last week when I realised I hadn't hoovered. Instead, it is getting dark. I now live a life of routine, just like my neighbours. I just turned off the music. No loud noises after dark is one of the rules. It is the one I hate the most, because it makes me feel so alone. Lights left on in rooms that are empty, or too many in one room, are prone to fusing, or even shattering without warning. So I currently only have the glare of the screen, the television, and a lamp. Soon I shall be going to bed. The doors that shut behind me as I head up to bed lock behind me, and I'll wake up in a room with windows wherever they please, and doors that may or may not open to cupboards that can be as small or as big as each variation allows. The television in the room I'm in has a satellite connection, and with it countless channels. Right now, all are a fuzz of static, except for National Geographic, so I'm forced to listen to a documentary on carnivorous plants as I type. I try not to dwell on the exhaustion of a beetle on the screen as it tries in vain to escape from the prison that will soon digest it. The remote doesn't appear to work. It took my pulling the plug from the socket to turn it off just a moment ago, and even that I loathed to do so, for the fear that it might stay on never left me, and I knew that if those images continued when the plug was removed, I would have screamed myself into madness. I could push the neighbours to talk more. I could rebel against the rules. I could start a fire and torch the whole building. But truly, I just want to get by. I get the feeling that up until now, I've simply been coached, like a dog, to do what is required of me. I feel like the punishments could get a lot worse. The occasional demonstration of strength, the enforcement of the rules, and the occasional mild punishment when I transgress. Like one taps the nose of a dog when it misbehaves. That is what I hope for. Stepping out of line only causes me harm and fear. It is only out of fear and reference to my own human dignity that I do not explain here what happens when the house feels it really needs to punish. Needless to say, the scar will be with me for the rest of my life. Which brings us to here. I cannot go on. I took the decision to write this with the remaining fight I still have in me, to at least ask for help. I cannot do it over the phone. I cannot write a letter. My only hope is to write it into a story, conspicuous and without the details that might draw attention to the content. All I can hope is that someone sees enough to spot my cry for help, that they find a way to contact me where I can get the lifeline I need to escape. I cannot ask directly, it's too risky. Besides, any form of open rebellion has been snuffed out of me with pain, suffering, and terror. I fear for my safety, for my punishment for breaking the rules. I'm surprised that it's even being allowed to get this far. In over 1,000 words I've written, there hasn't been a power cut or computer error that has lost everything. Perhaps there is still hope. But the truth is, I'm scared. Scared of what touched my face in my sleep the night before, after I accidentally left the tap running, clutching firmly the bruises on my cheek that still remain. I'm scared of what left a pair of scissors in my slippers, of what power moves wooden doors and plaster walls, seemingly at a whim. Most of all, I am scared that by writing this, I may wake up in a tiny room, with no doors or windows. A room that grows smaller every time I blink. It was the 2nd of January, 2:04 a.m. I woke up to a knocking on the door. One knock every 3 seconds. I slipped on my slippers and walked down the stairs. As I walked down, the knocking on the door got faster, almost like a heartbeat. When I got to the door, the knocking stopped. I looked outside and nobody was there. I went back up to my room and went back to bed, thinking it was just some kids playing a prank. At 4:21 a.m, I woke up to the front door slamming shut. I jumped, terrified. I looked over at my frosted window to find "Smile" written all over it in the frost. I grabbed my phone next to me, ready to call 911, only to find a message written on it saying, "I told you to smile." I ran for my life, running outside. As soon as I got outside, I knocked on my neighbour's house across the road. They answered and held me while I sobbed. They phoned the police. At exactly 5:42, the police came to my neighbour's house after an extensive search of my house. They told me there had been no evidence at all of anyone in my house other than me. The messages on the window were gone. Same with my phone. They told me to get some sleep and advised me to see a doctor about stress and anxiety problems. Fuck that. I knew what happened to me was real. The following evening, after spending the day at my neighbour's, I went home. I went up to my bedroom and set up a camera. It was aimed at my bedroom door in my bed. I set it to record and went to sleep. Thankfully, I slept through the night. However, as I watched the footage, I couldn't believe what I saw. At 3 in the morning, something crawled out from under my bed. It was a completely naked, anorexic man. He stood up and looked at me on the bed. He did so for another hour, not moving at all. Then he moved. He walked over to the camera until his face took up the whole shot. He was extremely pale and had bulging veins all over his head. His eyes were completely black, and a huge smile on his face. He stared at the camera for another 2 hours, not blinking, just slightly twisting his head every now and again. After 2 hours of him staring went past, he walked back over to my bed and crawled back under. I skipped the video forward until it showed me getting up and walking over to the camera. The video finished. I was frozen with fear. The video showed him going back under, but not leaving. Whatever it was still there.
And this is the finish from the video Creepypasta. And we hear us in the next video. So Leute, das war's dann auch schon mit diesem Video. Und lasst einen Daumen hoch für mehr solcher Geschichten. Vergesst da nicht zu abonnieren und vergesst nicht die Glocke zu aktivieren, dann bekommt ihr auch regelmäßig eine neue Benachrichtigung, wenn ein neues Video hochgeladen hat. Und wir hören uns im nächsten Video. Bis dahin, Peace.